Today is Thursday, Parashat Beshalach. It's also Tu Bishvat, the 15th day of the month of Shvat, which is known also as Rosh Hashanah LaIlanot, the beginning of the year for trees. Now, what does it mean, the beginning of the year for trees? This is when the sap starts flowing through the trunk to start bringing the trees back to life after many trees during the winter months, the leaves fall, they look like they dry, it looks like the trees are dormant, they come back to life, so to speak, with the sap starting to flow through the tree on the day of Tu Bishvat. Also, there are certain applications in terms of halakha. What does it mean, the beginning of the year? Well, in Eretz Yisrael, there is a 7-year cycle. 7-year cycle of every 7th year. It's the year of Shemitah, the year that we leave the land fallow. Now, based on what year it is within that cycle, there are certain types of ma'asrot, of ma'aser that we take to the Maaser Sheni that we take to Yerushalayim, to eat it in Yerushalayim, or it can be redeemed and the money taken to Yerushalayim to be spent on food. It's also based on what year it is within that cycle. On the 3rd year and the 6th year, there's Maaser Ani, which is a 10% that you give to the people who are needy. So how do you figure what year that fruit belongs to? It's based on whether the fruit buds came out before Tu Bishvat or after Tu Bishvat will make a difference as to what year those fruits belong to. Because every year has its own rules within that 7-year cycle. But also the idea that the flow of the sap starts in the beginning of the year in terms of on Tu Bishvat, that's considered to be a beginning. I would say a couple of halachot about trees. Once you plant a tree from a seed or from a shoot from a branch from another tree, you have to wait 3 years before you can start enjoying the fruits. Only on the 4th year can you start enjoying the fruits. If you're Eretz Yisrael, the 4th year has also a certain amount of kedusha associated with it, that you have to redeem it and take the money to Yerushalayim to spend it there, or to eat it in Yerushalayim. So that's called neta reva'i. Now, there's another halakha having to do with trees. The Torah tells us if you have a siege around the city and you need trees to create a ramp to go up on the wall of that city, you're not allowed to cut down the fruit trees. And that halakha applies today also. You have a fruit tree in your backyard, you cannot just cut it down, because we want to make sure that we protect the ecology, that we protect those plants that give us food. So you don't just cut it down, unless it's in the way of a certain construction that is necessary, or certain exceptions which you need to get a halachic permission to do that. Now, trees were used also, the branches from trees, wood was used in the Bet HaMikdash on the Mizbeach. The Gemara tells us that they stopped cutting preparing this wood for the Mizbeach on the 15th day of Av. Why? Because the sun started to diminish in terms of how many hours in the day, and things would become a little bit more, less dry, and therefore this is when they stopped cutting the wood for the Mizbeach. Question is asked, when did they start cutting the wood? And there is a Maharsha for the Gemara Baba Batra, Daf Kuf Chaf Aleph, Amud Bet. So the Maharsha explains that the beginning of cutting the branches for the Mizbeach was actually on Tu Bishvat. And if you ask the question on Tu Bishvat, it's still, the world is still sort of like wintry, and the wood is still not so dry. So how could they start on that day? And the explanation for this is that on the day of Tu Bishvat, there is a certain beginning again of life going through the tree. The days are getting longer. There is an increase of sun. And that beginning of coming sort of to life is a most important moment that we need to take advantage of. And this is not just about the tree coming back to life, but also within ourselves. Sometimes when we do certain mitzvot, that we have that kind of enthusiasm, that kind of awakening within us. That's so important to take advantage of that awakening in doing the mitzvah. And that awakening starts in the tree on Tu Bishvat. So this is another reason to celebrate this holiday of Tu Bishvat. That kind of awakening, just like Rosh Chodesh, when the month begins, we have a Kedusha of Rosh Chodesh, because this is when the moon starts again from going dark to become again with light, increasingly from day to day. What Amalek did when they attacked the Jewish people in the desert, they wanted to cool us down, asher karcha b'derech, to cool you down in terms of all the enthusiasm and the exciting from all the miracles that happened around the Exodus from Egypt and the parting of the Dead Sea. So this is exactly the opposite of that fire that is waken up within us when we do certain mitzvot with enthusiasm. Is the exact opposite. So Tu Bishvat has that aspect to it, of that waking up in the tree, even though you don't notice it yet, because the leaves, the flowers will come at a later point. But still, that is the beginning, when that excitement, quote unquote, starts in the tree, even before you see it. That also is so important within us, to have that kind of fire, excitement coming up, that we should take advantage of it. And as we do mitzvot, it should be always done besimcha and with enthusiasm. So we say berachot on fruits from trees on today as much as possible, especially from the fruits from the land of Israel, which is Eretz Chitaus Ora Vegefen Utena Verimon, Eretz Zet Shemen Udvash, the pasuk quoting the fruits of the lands of Israel starts with wheat and barley, and then grapes and figs and pomegranates and olives and dates. And these are the ones that we give preference to on today, to have say brachot on them. If you have all of them on the table, of course you would start with something that is from wheat or barley, and then you would move on to the fruit trees and giving precedence first to the olive. That's what the first one that you say bracha on, and that we include all the rest of the others that come from trees as well. So may we have a very fruitful year in many ways. May the sap that starts flowing in the trees also will be the excitement and the enthusiasm that should start flowing within us as we do mitzvot and as we do what is the right thing in serving Hashem. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen ve'amen.